delicious.
Those babies do smell good.
All right, 23 minutes now after the hour. Texas Senator Ted Cruz heading into his 18th hour on the Senate floor. And by the way, you're looking at
Rand Paul.
Rand Paul live asking a question to Ted Cruz as he fights for a debate on the House bill that will defund Obamacare.
That's right.
The Senate doesn't want to pass it.
But he was not alone in his efforts. In addition to Senator Rand Paul right there, Cruz got a little help from his friends.
We can't be special and exceptional without the American dream. And that's what's being undermined by big government and by Obamacare. And that, at the end of the day, is why we're so passionate about this. That's why this is an issue worth fighting for.
All right, and there he was last night. And there he is this morning live from Washington, D.C., Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. I better stop drinking coffee after that report about the rats. So.
Yeah, no kidding.
But you're not a teenager anymore, so you're okay. You're out of the woods.
That's true, yeah, that's right.
Hey, let me ask you this. You know, we've been reading over the last couple of days. There are so many, it's a big number of Republican senators who did not want Ted Cruz to do this. Yeah. Why?
Can I just start by welcoming Elizabeth? It's going to be great to have her on the morning.
Fine.
That's great. So it's good to have her on board.
Now that's a filibuster right there.
That was a filibuster.
It's great to see.
I think you're in a better place. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Anyway, so just to go back for a second on your question. Look, I think it's important to understand that all Republicans are united, all, on the notion that Obamacare is bad and needs to be repealed. There isn't a single U.S. senator that does not believe that. I think the debate is about the right tactics on how to approach this. And, you know, their concerns are that this somehow would set us back in this effort. I just passionately believe two things. On a personal level, I have to be able to go back home and tell people that I did everything I could to stop Obamacare, because it's going to hurt people very badly. And that includes taking this as far as we can, and that's what we're hoping to do. And the other is, I think it's important that we create awareness. You know, these issues have a tendency to get lost in the narrative of the day. I don't think enough people understand that this thing's right around the corner and the impact it's going to have on their lives. And I think as this issue goes on the floor and in the days to come, we're going to make a growing number of Americans aware of how damaging Obamacare is to the people who are trying to make it, to the people that are working hard to achieve a better life.
Senator, you know, you posted your full speech that you gave there, everything for 50 minutes on Twitter. I retweeted that just moments ago. Are you prepared to go down with the ship if indeed it does turn into a blame game with Republicans? Your name, certainly Ted Cruz's name, are going to be the front runners in terms of fault here.
Well, fault for what? I mean, number one, I don't think we should.
Government shutdown.
But that's a false choice. That's basically what the president and Harry Reid are basically saying is, unless you fund Obamacare, we're prepared to shut the entire government down. Now, we've had government funding before Obamacare. We can have government funding without Obamacare. This idea, what they're basically saying is, if we pass a bill that does not fund Obamacare, the president will veto it. He will shut down the government over his pet project. And that is wrong. And people need to be aware of that. The other thing is the president, in his own way, is defunding elements of Obamacare already. You know, he's already slowed down the implementation of the employer mandate. They're trying to issue all kinds of waivers to exempt people from this, including members of Congress. So this notion that somehow to not fund Obamacare means we have to shut down the government, that's all up to the president and to the Democrats in the Senate. They're the ones that have decided to make that the choice.
Well said.
So just on Steve's question to start with, are you against what Ted Cruz is doing? Do you feel as though this is hurting? You're for it?
No, hurting the
Do you
party?
think it's hurting the party, your party?
Let me say this. We are now have the ability to spend the last 18 hours, as Ted has done, and those of us who have tried to help him, and others, to inform the American public about the reality of what Obamacare is going to mean to their lives. How can that be a negative? As a growing number of Americans become aware of how damaging this bill is going to be to their lives and to our economy, I think that can only benefit us and, of course, benefit the country. So I don't see the downside to spending the time educating the American people about how dangerous it is. And when you're in the minority, as we are in the Senate, that's one of the few opportunities we have to do that.
So what is the end game, Senator?
Well, I mean, my hope would be that the end game is that we can create public pressure.
What do you think it is?
Right now, it looks like the Democrats have stubbornly dug in and are basically saying that the only bill they will pass out of here is one that funds the government, but only if it funds Obamacare. And they won elections, so they do have the majority. So ultimately, that may be the direction that we're headed, but if it is, the American people will know. People will be on record. We are hours away from senators having to record their vote, and there are Democrats who come from states where people are going to be badly hurt by Obamacare,
Yep.
and they're going to have to explain to people why they are wasting taxpayer money on such a damaging program to the country.
Well, I tell you what, Senator, I'm looking at the Twitter and the Fox and Friends email, and there are a lot of people out there who feel that, you know, it may be a lost cause, maybe the numbers aren't there in the final vote tally, but they do admire Ted Cruz for standing up, being a patriot, and doing what he could do, and obviously that's why you lent your name and some of your time to try to help him block, you know, this whole thing that's going on right there.
They're thankful that you're fighting the good fight, Senator.
Well, the bottom line is that we're not just here, you know, we're here to try to make a difference. And sometimes the difference begins by communicating to our people. And the good news is we have more ways to communicate with everyday Americans than ever before, through social media, through Fox, through other outlets. I think Americans are more aware this morning than they were last night of why Obamacare is so bad for the country.
Senator, what about the fact that this thing is, with all the waivers and all the problems with it, it's unimplementable in most states, that you have now taken the narrative away from the disaster, which seems to be this law, and now put it on yourselves as obstructionists, allowing yourselves to fall on the grenade that was about to explode?
That's impossible, because do you think someone who's about to get moved from full-time to part-time is going to somehow be confused about the narrative? Do you think someone who's going to lose their existing health care coverage and their relationship with their doctor is somehow going to be confused about the narrative?
But this doesn't do anything either. This doesn't do anything either.
But first of all, what's happening now is a growing awareness around this country that Obamacare is not what it was sold as. This is not free and cheap insurance for everyone who wants it. This is hurting people who are trying to make it. Here's the one more point that I think is becoming apparent to people, and this is true of big government, which Obamacare is a part of. The people who have made it, really rich people, big corporations, they can deal with this stuff. They don't like it, but they can deal with it. You know who's not going to be able to deal with the implications of Obamacare? The people who are trying to make it. The people that can't hire a lobbyist to come here to Washington and get them a waiver or an exemption. They're going to pay the price, and I think people are more aware of it this morning than they were last night, of that reality, and I think that's only going to increase in the hours and days to come. And ultimately, I think that will lead, whether it's next week, next month, or next year, that will lead to the repeal of this terrible, terrible law.
Well, you're right. People got an earful and are getting an earful about Obamacare and what it's going to do to the country. Senator Marco Rubio, thank you very much for joining us live. We're going to say goodbye unless you have more personal messages for Elizabeth.
It's just great to have her on TV here at Fox.
It is.
All right.
Great work, Senator. Thank you.